Hello everyone. In this video I thought we'd go over the mysterious PS2 game that everyone seems to be going wild about lately, because there's a lot of confusion over whether it actually exists or not. I'm unsure whether to say the actual name of the game on YouTube because of the tools out there that might pick it up as a racial slur in the UK, which is obviously the same sounding but a different spelling. So we'll call it Paccie, which seems to be what everyone seems to be trying to call it for safety. But basically we're going to go into whether it exists or not, and we'll show you the proof of what it actually is. Now some people have done a bit of research because somebody out there has done a YouTube video trying to find it. So some people have done a bit of research, and some people have already contacted me and found out a bit more info. So I thought I'd do a video and just show you everything, because this was already documented quite a few years ago on the internet. Me and a few other people dug into the mystery and found everything out, and it was put onto a website. Sadly, only actually the start of this year, the website had been laid defunct for a few years, and it finally got shut down. So all that information was disappeared. So it's quite surprising how within just a few months there seems to be now hundreds of people looking for this game, where that information was already out there, and quite a lot of collectors have known about the history of it for years already. But that obviously is the downside to websites disappearing on the internet. So let's get straight into it. Basically, let's not beat about the bush. The game does not exist. It never existed any further than this image here. Originally it was going to be produced as a PS1 game, and this box art was just done for promotional purposes, just to basically Phoenix Games used to knock up cover art in order to just try and sell games to retailers like Future Games, like to get contracts and stuff like that to supply them games. So they'd produce they produce bizarre looking covers that sort of might have been enticing to people, and then they'd just completely change the cover when the actual game was made. And that is something that you'll see if you know anything about Phoenix Games. You'll see a hell of a lot. That half the time the cover on the game doesn't even resemble what the game is. So basically this was originally going to be a PS1 game, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first I want to go over what the actual picture was. Now this picture was actually made 10 years before Phoenix Games actually existed, the main image. All they did was write the word Paccie on it and put their logo on it and a PS2 banner. The original image was made in 1994 for a competition to do with a thing called ray tracing, which is a form of drawing, which is actually being resurrected now and being used on the PS5. It is going to be the main form of drawing artwork on the PS5, like all the graphics and stuff. And it just seems a bit wild because ray tracing is a hell of a lot of work, because the image is actually made up of lines of code and not actually drawing. So if we look at the actual image here, you'll see everything here is built up with lines of code, and it's actually quite crazy. Now this was made for a competition, as I say, just a drawing competition every month that happened, and you had a certain idea to follow, and you just had to create an image. And this was made by R. Husmo, who I have actually spoken to. Now this is where things get a little bit crazy, because he was really interested in talking to me until I showed him the image of the PS2 cover, and then he deleted contact with me. So I'm not sure whether it's a sore subject, whether he just doesn't want anything to do with it, or whether he thought I was taking the pee. But that didn't go down too well. But I have confirmed he actually did. It was the person I spoke to actually did the image, but he just definitely didn't want anything to do with talking about it. I might try and contact him again and see if he will try, but I would advise against loads of people out there trying to contact him, because obviously you're never going to get information out of people if there's hundreds of people messaging you and they don't want to talk, it's just going to make them not talk even more. So I'd advise against, like, obviously there seems to be quite a lot of people who just want the information for their own self-satisfaction, so that's not really, if there's somebody out there who actually wants to, like an archive company or something, like website or something like that, who genuinely wants to put the info out there for somebody else, then obviously fine, but just please don't swamp the guy with messages for your own self-satisfaction. That's just his little write-up there about how he did the image. This is the Phoenix Games Limited website, which is just on the screen. I actually own this website. This was the UK website for Phoenix Games. I resurrected it and am very slowly rebuilding it, but life is, quite hectic, so it doesn't get updated as much as I'd like it to. But yeah, right, if we get into the game, here we go now. In fact, I believe I have yes, there. So originally the game was going to be a PS1 game, and as you can see on the screen on this low-res image, because that's all that exists of it, it was going to be called Block and Go. Now, the game was most likely going to have nothing to do with Pac-Man. As I say, Phoenix Games didn't always just copy what the cover said. Now, the game only existed on the website for a month, on the coming soon section. If we pull this up, coming soon, Block and Go. Now, they had Blockbuster in development, and that got pushed back, which makes me believe that Block and Go would have been another Arkanoid type game, because if we go to the next screenshot, it's gone. They completely removed it, and all history of it was just forgotten about. It never got any further than that. That was all we ever got, was an image. The PS2 image was removed way before that. That isn't even cached on the internet anymore. The first sign you'll see of that again on the internet is in 2008 on NeoGAF website, where somebody was talking about crappy games, and then they started mentioning Phoenix Games. So this it lay undiscovered again until around 2008, which is the earliest cached thing you'll find now. So yeah, it's a shame that the reason why some of the cached info isn't available anymore is because quite a few years ago, the person who owned all the Phoenix Games domains blocked all access to the cache memory. Now, I was able to buy one of the domains, obviously phoenixgameslimited.com. I managed to buy that, and I opened up the blocking from the cache memory, and then that's where I have pulled all the data from. I've basically been researching Phoenix for like 7 years, and it's crazy the amount of information that I've got stored up and needs sorting out, and it's just overwhelming. But because of that, I was able to basically filter off the information that was saved in the cached memory from the archive Wayback Machine. Now, luckily, a couple of years ago, Archive changed the way that you could scan cache memory on the archive, on the Wayback Machine, and you were no longer allowed to block your cached memory, which then opened up a lot of other things that we couldn't get, because Phoenix had like 5 different websites, and information was different between each one because you had games only released in certain countries. Now, where Block and Go was actually going to be released was in Netherlands. It was never going to be released outside of Netherlands, but then obviously what I believe is Netherlands was the main company for Phoenix. So what I think is they just throw anything on there, because as you'll see, they've got such nicer covers for some of the games, Amiga Assault and Butsubushi here. They've got much better covers than they had on release. So what it makes me believe is they were using the Netherlands website just to throw ideas out to get contracts and deals and stuff, and then they'd use all the other websites to put the actual products that they believed were going to be released on. So yeah, what I want to do is I want to look at this. So we're going to go through the Lost Media Archive and just debunk a few things. Right, so first off, this video here is not from Phoenix Games. That has got absolutely nothing to do with Phoenix Games. So we can debunk that. Right, so what have we got? 8-second clip of gameplay. So yeah, that's surfaced. I think it was around 2016. I think, and I can't remember what the source of that was. I'll have to try and find that up and do an update. But it is definitely nothing to do with Paccie. I can't think if someone just did it as a hoax or whether it was actually a demo clip from something else. Sorry, I'll try and find that out before I get the video uploaded, and I'll try and put it in the description. But either way, you can dismiss it. It's nothing to do with Block and Go or Paccie. Right, the game's listed for sale on a Dutch website. Right, that is also, I mean, I know they've got it listed, but it's never been in stock. It'll never be in stock. I'm not really sure what this website is. It looks like one of those that, like a CX sort of style website. But they're just pulling images from God knows where, but whatever. Let's forget that. An image of the main box found on Reddit, a link explaining what's in the game. Right, now this here where it says a link explaining what's in the game, that's obviously, someone must have just updated this, because that's just leading back to this. Now, as I was saying, the picture is made up of code. So if you download this, you'll see that it's not a game. It's actually just script to draw the image. And if you have a tar file viewer, you'll be able to load up the image, and all you'll get is this image here. So it's not code or anything like that for a game, or it doesn't explain about the game. It explains about the picture. Where am I? Right then, Grove mentions the game's release in the UK. Right, now we're going to get into that, because places like Giant Bomb and all these places that list it as being released in 2004, this is a common thing on the internet. Now anybody who searches for games, like a collector, like hardcore searching, like I do, research searching and things like that, you may know that a lot of release dates are completely false. And the reason is because in the early days of the internet, websites would scrape data, and they still do now, to be honest, but websites would scrape data because they just couldn't do all the work themselves. But you would get certain websites that would get all the release info and just print it out as press release, and then all these other websites would scrape it and just print it on their websites. Now, a company called MVC were the largest people for doing this. Like, they were the ones that were putting all the effort into scraping all the data. The only problem is they didn't put any effort into confirming if the data was true or not. So if a company said, oh yeah, we're thinking about releasing this game Paccie, and we might release it next year on March, MVC would print it, and then all these websites would just scrape that data and just relay it off on their websites. So this is where you get all these false release lists from, release dates from, because they don't know that they're pulling info from places that are trusted websites, but they're pulling false info because none of it's confirmed, and because it's only release lists, nobody knows whether to confirm it anyway, or how to confirm it, so they just publish it and that's it, it's there for the world. But unfortunately, you get millions of websites who are now publishing false information, and then the true information just gets completely lost. So where were we? Right then, now we're going to get to It's Wildcat. Right, It's Wildcat. He claims he played a copy of the game, and he doesn't want to release footage of it. Well, that's obviously because he's lying. Either he's completely mistaken and thinks he played it and he's just wrong, or if he actually thinks he's got footage of the game and he's reluctant to release it, then he's just absolutely completely lying. I mean, possibly it might have had puzzles and stuff in, but that's just looking at any Phoenix game and just copying it. You know, it's like saying, oh, tomorrow could be sunny. You know, it's just ridiculous. But he definitely, if he's saying he's got the game, he's lying. Yep, that is true. There's no PEGI rating. The game was never submitted for any sort of rating anywhere because it never got past the image. Yeah, Giant Bomb, we've covered that. And yeah, covered that. So yeah, that goes over that. I'm trying to think, because obviously there's going to be loads of stuff I'm missing. There's another reference to it off NeoGAF. There's the Giant Bomb. Right, yeah. There was a Amiga game called Paccie, which was a Pac-Man clone. So I doubt, obviously looking how basic it is, I doubt Phoenix would have tried to have picked that license up and remade that. So, I mean, I think we can sort of dismiss that is the game. One thing I wanted to show you is that Phoenix were quite happy to just keep throwing out cover art. They used other people's images from way back, like book covers and things like CD artwork and stuff like that from the 80s, and they'd just put game names on it and throw it out there. And here's one of them, Elvis, the Real King of Rock and Roll. Now, this is a game that actually was released, but just not by Phoenix Games. They didn't get the license to it in the end, and Data Design released it themselves as Rock and Roll something, the Rock and Roll Adventures, and it is literally just a reskin of Ninja Bread Man and a couple of others that are out there. So it just shows you that if people are saying, oh no, if they made a cover, they're definitely making the game, and it's not always true. It's like Phoenix literally just used to make covers in the hope that they'd get interest, and then if they did, they'd try and make the game, or they'd make a cover to show someone and say, oh look, we can release this game for you. But obviously, due to their reputation, there were other publishers out there that for some games would have done a much better job than Phoenix. But yeah, I think that's basically it really. So yeah, I hope this video has helped out everybody watching it, but the game definitely never got released, so please don't waste your time looking for it. I hope this helps out all the people that have obviously watched that Saurus Guy's video, which obviously was a decent video, but obviously because of the lost information on the internet now, it's just a video that he's probably going to do a follow-up and, you know, have to debunk his original video himself. But obviously good luck to him in the future. He seems to be doing a lot better than I am anyway. But yeah, hopefully this will stop other people from making videos that get people too excited about something that doesn't actually exist. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I've got a Phoenix Games playlist where I'm actually the largest Phoenix Games collector out there. I've got pretty much every single game they've ever made for every platform. So yeah, plenty of Phoenix Games footage. And come and join me over on Twitter, if you've got Twitter, Retro Detect, or on Facebook, Retro Detect, but Facebook's not that active. But yeah, I've also got Retro Detect website. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave any comments down below, because as I said, I've probably missed things out that people want to know, so I'll get back to you all in the comment section below. But yeah, thanks for watching, take care, and toodaloo.